Good afternoon. Welcome to the Clark Road Barn Advisory Committee, meeting number 7. It is November 25th, 2024. Tonight we're going to just go through an agenda is going to include a Q&A with the consultants who prepared the conditions assessment report that we talked about last time we met last month. And then we'll provide a review of some of the information that staff was able to gather regarding the town of Pittsford's West Jefferson Road Barn. I know that was something that was requested. And then we'll discuss the committee's thoughts on next possible steps and recommendations to the town board. So that's sort of a summary of the agenda. I think, Carmen, I would anticipate, we're going to go through the questions. I put them up on slides so that you can see. We'll sort of go through them. These were presented in no particular order. It might have been based on the order that they came up in the conversation from the last meeting, and we'll just go through from there.
Sure.
So without, do you want to introduce yourselves to the committee?
Yeah, I'm Carmine Torchia, Torchia Structural Engineering.
I'm Ann Verhaeg. I'm an architect who works for Carmine and his company.
Okay, great. All right, so without further ado, the first question was with the understanding that this type of barn would have required livestock to keep it heated for its original use. Will temperature control be required for the proposed rehabilitation?
Shall I do that? Well, this is based on the report that was done trying to describe the reason for the crumbling of the south wall of the barn, which was originally stone. And it's a full height wall. It's uncovered from the first floor down to grade, so it's approximately 8 feet tall. And then the ground, the grade on either side of the barn goes up to the north to the side toward the road where the ramp is. But traditionally, the animals, the manure, the hay kept the barn foundation warm and prevented freeze-thaw cycles from crumbling the mortar and disturbing the stone. And so once the animals were removed, that wall did crumble. That is our assessment because it's been replaced with concrete block. Mm-hmm. It did not mean that the front toward the north side, toward the road, crumbled because that is all still in place. It's damp, but it's still in place.
Yeah, and that's all below grade.
Yes, it's most of it, and then the grade goes down on the side. So that comment was really intended to describe what happened to the first wall.
Yeah.
Now, going on from that, the stone that is still in place is in fairly good condition, given its age. It is damp, however, and the report addressed that by saying that we thought that a drainage system should be installed on the outside of the barn below grade. So as far as temperature control, that is something for the future. The stabilization, or the temporary stabilization, doesn't address that.
Right.
The repairs and refurbishment of the barn as a barn don't really address temperature control either, just stabilization, repairing all that's wrong with it. If you went on to, and everything that's being done would be in good condition for a couple of years, but if the barn were to be repaired and stabilized and ready for use, you would want to look at that in the future, yes. Just even a minimum 55 degrees inside would keep the barn material stable.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. So I think, just from the committee's perspective, and I'm trying to look around the table, so I was going to sort of go through the questions, have Carmen and Ann answer them, but please, if you have a clarifying question or something that piggybacks on that, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm just wanting to be sort of mindful of their time, but fully providing responses to the questions raised. Also knowing that there's other items on the agenda, want to leave time for discussion among the group. Oh, it's going to be,
Can I just ask a follow-up on?
yeah, go ahead.
It sounds like it's the foundational part that is really maybe problematic because of the temperature changes without the animals and not the rest of the structure so much?
Well, no, it's not the rest of the structure, it's the foundation. And they, somewhere in the past, the concrete block was installed in lieu of stone. But it's not in good condition. It's failing as well, but not because of temperature. It's structurally poor. It just can't support the loads that are on it at the moment.
The workmanship wasn't that good either on it, so it's a combination of things for that one.
Clarify?
It's
Okay.
not reinforced, for instance.
Yeah, there's no reinforcing.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go on to the next one. If the barn is rehabilitated, how much of the original building materials are kept through that process?
Yeah, so basically, all the main frame.
So the timber
The
frame
timber frame. could be kept-
inside?
Yes, so that is all in pretty good condition. There was a couple of eave beams that are, some of that eave beam is in rotten. It's not good. I mean, you could see it from the photos in the report. But the main frame is in decent shape.
And the stone foundation that is
Yeah.
still in place is adequate as well. It just needs to be drained. But the first floor
Yeah, the first floor
is
in bad.
not, is really, and the supports for the first floor are, that's the main floor.
Yeah.
We mean. It is rotting and rusting, and then, of course, the roof is in terrible shape.
I had a question about the roof. I wasn't clear. I think in the report, it said that 75% of the south roof was shot.
Yeah, so it would.
But then when you got into the rehab discussion, I believe it said that the entire roof would have to be replaced, so that the supports as
Yep.
well as the roof.
I can explain that. It's just, the reason we said that is because would be difficult to, because of the way the roof is constructed, it would be difficult to just replace this half and not this half. You'd have to try and hold this up temporarily while this, so at that point, it's not worth it. You might as well just take the whole thing out and redo it. That was the reason for that.
That clarifies.
Yeah.
I'm going to periodically look around the room just to make sure no one is nodding or having a question. Will the first main floor be fully replaced during both the temporary stabilization and the rehabilitation phase, or is there only a temporary floor placed during stabilization phase?
During the stabilization phase, we're not replacing anything.
Okay.
We're just shoring everything down to the ground.
Okay.
But as far as what's there now, we'll stay there, because we don't want to spend money on that during that time.
We do have to cover,
There's a hole or whatever.
The first level is in bad shape, and it would be, they start at the bottom, so that would be stabilized,
Right.
but it would still need decking over it because there's so many holes.
Yeah, just we would cover the holes, but we wouldn't do a whole new
And
structure.
then the stabilization would continue
Right.
up to the roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's stages.
Just scanning the table to see if there's any follow-up
Yeah.
questions. Okay,
Tim's
so,
been there, so he knows.
and I'm sorry, the writing gets a little smaller on these, so I'm just trying to, so the question was, do you have a recommendation for an alternative to the tarp cover over the roof that would be more durable and cost-effective? Can you provide information for any companies that might be able to install such an alternative on this barn?
Yes, so I talked to a consultant, that does roofing, said that he drove by the the place, and he said what they used is a very cheap tarp, it's very thin, and it wasn't anchored properly. So he suggested a thicker material with more anchors to keep it in place. And I asked for a price, I got a price, I think I sent it to you.
You did, thank you. I was going to actually update the
Yeah.
committee as part of the work between last meeting and this meeting. In addition to forwarding the questions to Carmen, we also are trying to seek pricing for replacement tarp for the entire roof. We did get that one.
Yeah.
We're awaiting another. We need 3 quotes
Right.
for work like of this nature, just based on our procurement policy. So we're working to try to secure a third quote that will be something we can talk about with the town board.
He did say something about metal panels
Yeah,
being an
that's too
alternative,
expensive an
but,
alternate, though.
and the shape of the building doesn't lend itself to that
there
either.
we were trying to see if there was other options, but the best thing is, he said it's a thicker, better product than what's
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Can you share what one of the estimates was? Or,
Off the top of my head, I don't want to misquote. I'm happy to share the information via email so I can follow up and not misstate the, and also I
We would
haven't,
probably, before you do that, though, you should get all 3 bids.
okay,
Don't share anything until you get the bids.
yeah, and I'll check with the supervisor and the town board. I think they might want to hear about it
Yeah.
as well, so,
Yeah.
but happy to share that information. Okay. Why does the report propose placing a waterproof coating around the stone foundation? What is a waterproof coating, and wouldn't this practice make the stone foundation less breathable and create worse moisture conditions than already exists?
Want me to-
You can do that one.
Okay. Well, we sort of touched on it already, that the dampness is coming through the stone foundation on the sides where it's below grade. It's not needing to be breathable. What we need to do, and I could pass a diagram around,
Yeah,
but I
the
don't.
It's one of the exhibits
Oh,
that
I-
explains
It's
it.
Exhibit 1. What we propose here and what's commonly done when you have moisture coming through the soil into a wall like this is to put a membrane on and then a layer that retards the water and lets it drain down to an exterior perforated drain to carry the water away. That's the one that's boxed in red there. And you're looking at the outside on the right, so the blue, vertical blue is the membrane coating, and then over that is a plastic or polyethylene product that keeps the moisture out, lets it run down the face, and there has to be drainage material in there and a drainage fabric so that it's stone, so that it doesn't get clogged with soil, so that this keeps on draining. And we had proposed running a line around and to a dry well on the southeast side, a distance from the building. And that would be tied in with drains under the floor or the future floor slab of the basement if it's repaired, so that it drains all of the moisture that might be there away. So the stone, but it has to be done carefully because the stone is old, fragile. So you do 4 feet over here and then 12 feet away at the same time. You do another 4 feet. Then you switch, and you do it in increments, so that you don't disturb too much at one time. It's fussy work, and nobody likes doing it, but that is really the way that it should be done if it's going to be done. In our experience, it's the best way. So it's not quick and easy, but it does the job, and it'll do the job a long time.
And And I'll happily add the exhibits that we're showing tonight into the shared drive for everyone, so if you want to look at it further, you can, and if you have any follow-up questions, I think I'll say that as well, that, Carmen's here and Ann's here to answer the questions, go through things, and then after tonight's meeting, if something else jumps out as what about this, we can always ask those questions and provide a response back from the consultant team.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I just wanted to say one thing about the wall being breathable. We're looking for the building to breathe, but we don't really expect the wall to be breathable. And on the other side, if the existing concrete block wall on the south were to be repaired, again, with either poured concrete or another better concrete block wall, that would not need to be breathable either, but we would put block fence in on either end of the barn to bring some air in and hopefully and scientifically it does then vent out up above, and so that during the winter we don't want too much moisture to gather in there, or in the summer, to be honest. It's not the best way, but without any, in the early stages, if we were stabilizing the barn, that's what you would do. There's no electricity, of course, yet.
Yeah, so we have to be passive.
So it's just a passive
Yeah.
sort of Venturi effect, is what they call it.
Any follow-up on that? Okay, seeing none. How high would the proposed concrete slab in the basement be poured? Would it be poured all the way to the stone foundation? Our understanding is that you would want some separation between the concrete slab and the stone foundation to allow for some breathability.
Typically, as far as the height, we could pour it at whatever the dirt elevation is now. It doesn't have to be higher. We just make sure we're not undermining the foundation.
Yeah,
We have to be above that, above the bottom of the foundation. So we would have stone, 6, 8 inches of stone, and then vapor barrier, and then a 4 or 5 inch slab, probably 5, and we would keep it about a ½ inch away from the walls.
Okay, so a floating slab.
Yeah,
There would be
That's-
a compression joint in there.
Yeah, expand, sometimes we put it in.
And we might, what we're thinking is we would pour it for about 4 feet at that level, which is slightly above the level of the dirt in the basement now, and then drop it maybe a foot, 18 inches, because we
right,
want
to get more height.
7
Yeah.
feet under those beams,
Right.
whatever the replacement beams are. So you would have this sort of bench affair on
At the
3
perimeter,
sides,
yeah.
and then drop down, and the south side could be
If
lower.
we're going to redo the
Yeah,
footing, yeah.
we have to,
Yeah,
we
can
have,
build down
yeah,
on
I
it,
have to
just-
keep the
yeah.
stone in place,
Right.
because it doesn't have much of a footing. It
It's
just
not.
has bigger boulders
the
under
bottom,
it. At least traditionally, that's the way it's done.
Yeah, so we would do a ledge at the elevation that it is now, but then to get you more height, because it's very short down there, it's okay for me, but it wouldn't be
I'm glad
okay
you
for
said it.
Tom. We would dig down, and the ledge would stabilize the foundation at the perimeter, and then, we would just dig down deeper, that's all.
Okay.
That's what we meant.
So the foundation where it meets the wall would be sort of at the current
Right.
grade or a little bit higher, and then
Right.
for the
For about
remainder,
maybe
you would
4 feet.
suggest
Yeah.
going
It'd be a
down
shelf.
farther?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
A step or 2 down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask just a comparative follow-up question? What would be, I guess, the relative prices of doing the concrete slab that you're proposing to do in situ versus the cost of pouring a brand-new level 45 by 90-foot base of
yeah.
pad just in a new, fresh location?
Yep, it would be considerably more, because you would have to underpin the footing at the perimeter in order to get
Well,
it to the...
maybe, are you asking, though, it might be just a crawl space? Is that what you're
Are
thinking?
you saying to keep it the height
I'm saying if you were to create a flat concrete pad.
Right.
The size of, slightly larger than the size of the barn
Yeah.
right now, and move the barn to a brand-new slab prepared for it, what would the relative cost of something like that be versus the cost of doing the remedial work you just described?
Oh, I don't know. That we'd have to.
Yeah, that's going to take a little time to figure out.
If the barn itself were lifted up and put on a slab, it would be considerably less because it wouldn't need a basement. If you were to create a basement under it, then, I don't know, is
Yeah.
it a washout? I don't know. But you have to move it.
You'd have to have a whole new foundation.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah.
considerably more.
Yeah.
To do that.
Moving the barn has its own problems because, you have to number and measure and know exactly which ones fit with which is expensive too, but it's a very good way to do it. I mean, it can be done, for sure.
If that's what do we understand your question or no?
Yes,
That's-
yeah,
okay.
comparing, keeping in
Yeah.
the present location versus considering
Right, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
an alternate location.
Yeah, it depends if we would do a basement or not, I guess. But even if you don't do a basement, you still have to have a perimeter foundation because you got to go below frost. So, I
And
think-
piers under the posts
Yeah,
and,
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that would definitely cost more. How much more, I'd have to figure it out. But, yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question on this slide is, what is the purpose of the proposed Tyvek insulation? Using Tyvek to insulate the barn would result in the structure losing any resemblance of a barn on the interior. So are there any alternatives to Tyvek that would accomplish the same purpose and not conceal the interior architecture of the barn?
this was probably my most complicated answer. The Tyvek was never meant to be seen on the interior. It's a weatherproofing membrane that is usually between the outer surface and the inner insulation. And that's really kind of the way I was looking at it when we first proposed it. But the thing is, the insulation itself is not meant to be exposed, and there is, because we have a heavy timber frame, it's not like a stud wall where you put the insulation between and then cover it. You've got these big expanses. Our estimator just left the insulation out and kind of, had the Tyvek is there, but it really isn't meant to be seen, and it actually doesn't work very well that way either. So in writing our answers to this question, we had about 4 different ways this could be done. But it depends on how much money is to be spent. We really like hardy plank as a finished surface on the exterior because it's non-combustible. It's a cement fiberboard. It lasts forever. You can put insulation inside. But if you did, some of the girts also need to be repaired, and that's what everything would be put up against.
Yeah. Well, the point is, you're not going to see the Tyvek on the inside.
Yeah,
That's the point.
Okay.
And as far as how we actually do the envelope, that's part of the next phase. It's not really part of this
Yeah.
discussion.
This analysis,
Yeah.
yeah, understood.
And I suppose if you had there are insulations that can be exposed on the interior that don't off-gas formaldehyde and aren't a fire hazard, and they could probably be painted brown, or whatever. But it's not a simple question.
Yeah, but that'll come, like we said, that'll come on the next one.
Yeah.
But don't worry, the barn effect will remain as it is on the inside.
Yeah, it was
We'll
not
promise
meant
that.
to be a white
Yeah,
piece of
right.
Tyvek.
Okay, good, go ahead.
I'm just looking around to see if there's any follow-up. Oh, sorry. Okay, so would it be feasible to salvage the post and beam frame and construct it elsewhere? Would this be a significantly less costly option when compared to the currently proposed temporary stabilization and rehab project?
That's what we were just talking about earlier, yeah. Yes, it would be, but I think it would cost more.
Okay,
I mean, if you were to sit the heavy timber frame on a slab with a small foundation and not do a basement, you would save the cost of the first floor
Yeah.
and the basement.
Yeah, you'd save that.
And the stabilization of the stone and the drainage, or you would do that first. You would have the cost of taking it apart like it's Legos and numbering it and putting it back together. But it certainly could be done, and
Yeah.
you'd still have to stabilize it, though, to take it apart. Just to be able to work safely in the
the floor,
barn,
in the barn,
it
yeah.
has to be stabilized. And there's some early things that would have to be done, like clearing the debris, but that's not a part of that question, but there's a lot to be done, but it can be done, and has been done. I mean, it's,
yeah, I guess that might fall also into the category of that would be a next step to know those potential costs, but are there, my question is, are we aware of any, and if you don't have the answer to this question, it's okay, being a town, being a municipality, we would need to have, it would need to be somebody that specializes in barn reconstruction or relocation that's also able to do prevailing wage work.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's a unicorn of a request, or if that's a common, that's out there and there are providers that do that.
I would, I'm just guessing
Yeah.
here. I would think that if it depends on the direction you decide to take, but if you found a contractor who could do demolition and the stabilization and could give you costs of both, who could work with a consultant who knows the best ways to
Take it apart.
you need someone who really knows the heavy timber side of the question, who knows how to label and tag it and be sure that, the right brace goes with the right timber and column. He might be able to use that, she, which you might be able to get three demolition reconstruction contractors who could then hire the right people or a right person company. We
No, that's
don't
okay, I just
know.
wanted to ask, if you don't know,
That's the
that's
best we
fine.
could come up with. But if you could find someone to do both, the stabilization, demolition, and reconstruction.
And you
And-
mentioned, I think in the report, the stabilization, there is such a thing as an engineer that specializes in that? Did you mention that?
Yeah, for the stabilization, so.
Yeah.
Well, we would kind of proposed a shoring design
Yeah.
system. But, so then what happens is the contractor that would be doing the work hires an actual, another engineer to do the actual design for the shoring. We just kind of suggest it, because we can't do both, because
Sure.
we can't, we can't wear two different, so it's got to be
Fair.
another part. So that's.
Third party.
A third party, so that's how it would be. But we suggest what has to be done, we give them all the loads, and then they do a final design based on what we give them.
Okay.
So, and I've been on both sides of the fence.
Okay.
So I'll some people design it, then I do the shoring and vice versa, so
Okay.
that's the way it goes. So
Okay,
We're
all
doing a
right.
lot of shoring jobs right now, too, so. but-
Okay.
In that dismantling idea, could you then save some of those, the roof structure?
Yeah, there's possibility. I mean, as far, the rafters, you mean, and all this stuff? Yes, as you take it apart, you look at it and you say, okay, well, this one is not as rotted, we could save this piece, we could save this piece, but it's hard to say how much. Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier. to
Sometimes
just
the
do it.
ends, what it was really bad is the end is really bad. It was really bad because that's where all the water kind of sat for years.
The southeast.
Yeah, the south, yeah, so, you could, it may be, towards the middle, it was perfectly fine, and you could use those pieces if you want someplace, but you can't, so.
Okay,
Have
thank
to
you.
evaluate
Yeah,
it.
it's got to get evaluated.
Okay, the last one is, these types of major projects take time to plan, fund, and execute. What is a sense of urgency, especially with winter approaching soon, to complete some of the recommended stabilization steps? Not many of the recommendations can be accomplished in the next few weeks. What would TSE recommend to be done as a high priority due to limited time and/or budget, but would offer the best protection against continued deterioration?
Okay, that's a loaded question, too, 'cause it takes time to do everything. At the very least, I would say the tarp.
Okay.
Get the roof covered so that we protect the inside as much as possible and protect the structure from rotting more as much as possible.
Okay.
Whether I would say the shoring is important to do that, but does it have to happen next month? It's hard to say. I mean, it could be anything. We could get 3 feet of snow and lands on that roof, and that barn could collapse. I mean, if we don't do any, but it's Mother Nature. You're dealing with Mother Nature, so it's hard to say. If it was, my opinion would be just get it done as soon as possible, the shoring. I mean, that's what I would say.
Well, and we had proposed that the town itself could, or maybe the DPW, if you had, to clean it out very carefully, and to put in the vents in the two ends in the basement, and then and make sure the tarp doesn't cover them, and then up above, open windows. Some of the broken windows could just be screened over gently, and the tarp brought around them. One on each end would help. And then you're going to need drawings if
Yeah, for the shoring.
for the shoring. And we've done sketches and numbered the columns so that we could discuss the building in our report, and you can look at the sketches to know which post we're talking about, for instance. But those are sketches, so if we were to do those, we would need to get in the next 2 weeks or so before snow flies to do our last measurements, and those should, if you're going to stabilize and rehabilitate, then you need some drawings for the contractors to use for bidding.
Yeah,
And we
shoring.
haven't done those yet because we've done the report.
Well, I was going to say, that was outside the scope of
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
work,
and we need
and
to
you're the
get-
RFP for
Yeah,
your
we need to
services,
get,
so.
and we, or someone else, I mean, whoever you choose, but.
Yeah. The thing is, the barn's been in this condition for a while. It's not like, it just happened overnight. But it could get worse exponentially. I mean, so that's why I'm saying it's important to protect it as much as you can. So the tarping is the first thing, at least get that on there. And then, I mean, it's been there like this for a while. As long as everything stays the way it is, it should still be fine. But the one corner, oh boy, over there, that one's bad, the southeast corner.
Yeah,
That's really bad over there.
that whole south side, but it's
Where the
particularly
collapse
that
happened on
corner.
the-
Yeah.
into the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's bad.
And so you don't want any more water in
Right.
there than
Yeah.
possible. You may have a year, but it's not getting better. It's,
Yeah,
it's
unless-
Understood.
it's fragile.
Yeah,
It was a little scary going down in that basement.
yeah. But you did it, though. And I did, too. He just watched us.
I did not.
He watched us from above. He made sure we were okay.
It's ready to pull you up.
That's right. He was.
He was
And I
on
think you did pull
Overwatch.
me up.
All right, so I believe that concludes the questions that were provided. But we want to be, again, mindful of the committee. I know you have other things we want to get to. Do you have any last questions, clarifications?
Yeah, the paint on the barn, do we know if that contains lead or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't know. I mean, what do you think? It probably does.
Probably
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
If it's got
The paint
lead paint.
contain lead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exterior paint.
Tom actually had raised that just to,
Yeah, that's a good
So
question.
I don't know if it's going to be lead.
You
Yeah.
can't save the barn planks anyway, really. So the best solution, if rehabilitation takes place, is using a product like the cement fiber, or you could use wood, but it has a more limited life, but you would have to replace it. Otherwise, I don't think there's any other hazardous material in there, because it was built before we were using asbestos, for instance.
Yeah, I think it's just the paint.
Yeah.
This would be an issue.
I would think somewhere in there,
Yeah,
there's got to be.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Can I ask, in your professional opinion, how much of the current damage to the barn structure stems from the hole in the roof and the ensuing water damage?
I mean, it's the hole in the roof that's on the southeast side that's got the most damage. But then in general, it's the entire, that south side that's has damage due to a bad roof, that isn't, so
Water from-
a lot of it has to do with the water entering the building, a lot of that.
And just moisture in general
Yeah, just
being
general
in
moisture,
there.
too.
I mean, there is some
Yeah.
coming through the
Yeah.
foundations,
Yeah.
but, but it's not as disastrous as the roof,
Right, yeah.
that's for sure.
Mike, did you have a follow-up? No? Okay. Oh, Bob, you had a follow-up, I thought.
I was wondering whether or not you believe the foundation along the south wall extends below where the fieldstone was laid up. Did they try to get 40 inches of ground cover?
Yeah,
on that side?
yeah, that's a good question, Bob. I mean,
I thought I saw a
Yeah.
grade beam,
did you? Okay.
but I don't know how.
It might be a trench
piece
footing.
of concrete.
Yeah.
I thought I did, but it's so awful in there, I couldn't get to it.
But the
Yeah.
original stone wall
Right.
just sat on earth.
Yes.
Right,
And it had to be kept warm inside so you didn't have frost heaving.
Right.
Right,
Right,
and it
yeah.
probably only went down this
Yeah, I
far.
don't know if it went down too deep.
Yeah.
I don't think it
Yeah.
did, yeah. It probably is one of the reasons why it failed, too, in my opinion.
Yeah, the animals, they
Yeah.
did their work.
Yeah, they did their work, yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, if we don't have any more follow-up questions, I would thank Carmen and Ann for you joining us tonight and answering the questions. We do really appreciate it. And if there's any follow-up questions that pop up, I know how to find you.
Okay,
So
you know how to
I
find
can
me.
relay those
Right.
and circle back to the committee.
Right,
and
okay.
Relay those back.
Sounds good. Good to see you guys.
All right.
thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you ready?
Yeah. There, that's
Oh,
yours.
okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys don't have to stay too late.
I think we only have the room reserved for a certain period of time, so at some point they're going to kick us out.
Right.
But not anytime soon, don't worry.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I know at the last meeting, oh, thank you, appreciate that. Now Megan can spread out a little bit and not be tucked into the corner. I know somebody had made the request, even, well, I'm not sure if it was the last meeting or if it was in some email communications about the town of Pittsford has a barn on West Jefferson Road. Matt Prinzing was kind enough to do some sleuthing, having communication with the town historian in Pittsford. I think you've checked in with the assessor's office and also the town planner, who sort of serves in the community development realm of things. So I've put in some of the the key highlights that Matt gathered, and he certainly can walk through the conversations and discussions he's had in trying to answer those questions.
Yeah, so first reached out to the historian who directed me to the assessor that was able to tell me that those 2 barns on West Jefferson Road were acquired in 1998. And it was kind of provided through, there was an agreement through incentive zoning for a nursing home that went in across the street, so that the town of Pittsford took on the lands and the 2 barns that are on that property. There wasn't really an initial intended use for the barns. The land to this day is leased out to a private farmer that farms it, but the farmer doesn't use it doesn't use the structures for any agricultural activities. It's really just cold storage for the town. There's even parts of a barn. There was this one barn that was privately deconstructed and is now being stored in this barn. Unfortunately, when that private barn was deconstructed, it wasn't meticulously labeled, or the deconstruction process wasn't really documented well. So to this point, the town of Pittsford really has no intention of rebuilding that barn, because it would take a genius to try and make sense out of all those parts without documentation of how it was taken apart, how it originally was. I mean, even photos of what that barn originally was, they don't have really great documentation of it. It wasn't until 2002 that the town of Pittsford's Historic Preservation Board took action. There was a proposal to dismantle and demolish the barns, but ultimately town staff and the board's attorney advocated for some fundraising effort to try and preserve the barns. They had this big sign out right on the road that said "Save the Barn," and ultimately they helped fundraise to offset some of the costs. But at that time, the town had to put the initial monies towards saving. At that time, the money was to help replace the roofs, foundation repair, and securing all windows and the doors. The cost of that, this was 20 years ago, was $67,871 in 2003 or 2004, I believe that article was. And again, the barns are only serving as cold storage for the town. They don't really have any other intended use other than that. Yeah, that was kind of the history of those barns. I don't have more details about when they estimate the roof may need to be replaced again, or how much monies they've put towards it since that initial buy-in to it 20 years ago. Yeah, as far as I know, there isn't any more fundraising events to keep maintaining these barns. Yeah, that was the main conversation that I had with the Director of Planning, Zoning, and Development, Doug DeRue, with the town of Pittsford.
Matt, could you explain that last bit there, the barn inside one of the barns?
That was the privately dismantled barn.
the dismantled barn,
The
okay.
2 barns are still standing.
Okay.
And, but yeah, that was the
I
private.
thought there was a whole structure.
Oh, okay,
No,
no.
sorry, yeah, not a barn within a barn. I mean, technically, yes, but, yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Russian dolls of barns, yeah.
But no, I guess that, the one thing too is that these 2 barns, the preservation of these 2 barns, from my understanding, was one of the town of Pittsford's first endeavors in trying to do some kind of preservation of barns. And they've gone on to take it. There was another barn on, I believe, Clover Street, where it was recently renovated, and the developer essentially wanted to give it to the town, and they took it on. And again, this is, a barn that, again, was, there wasn't really any money up front to put into. They didn't have to replace the roof or the foundation. The developer had already done that, and so the town took it on. But 15 years later, that barn now needs a new roof and needs maintenance done, and again, there's no intended use for it. It's not being used for farming, it's not really being used as, some sort of commercial space or anything like that. It's not habitable space. So, yes, even, it's not, a free lunch. Like, you take this on, you ultimately have to maintain it over the years, and so, yeah, it's one of those cases that Pittsford is still trying to figure out these uses and how they could use it for anything other than cold storage, these barns that they've been preserving, so, yeah.
Okay.
So the mystery is, I asked you in an email
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it.
to do that, because a couple of days after our last meeting, I was out there and I drove past it, and I said, my gosh, what are these barns doing here? Because we had talked about at the time, at the last meeting, well, maybe we just stabilize the barn and it just sits there. And, in terms of, the citizens just wanted this maintained, and I saw these sitting on the road. There was no public access. There was really no other description of them, and so that looked like a model, maybe, of a town saying, we appreciate that we have this barn, but we really don't, mean it's a bad way, care much more about that, just that we saved it. So it was just an indication of, well, what did they do, and is that a model or some kind of a idea that we could follow? So I appreciate staff taking the time to dig into it and provide the feedback, but that was where this all came from.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, there was a fundraiser, right? Fundraiser?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I couldn't get like specific numbers of how much they were able to offset.
Okay.
The one article, I think, again, it was like 2003, 2004, so that up until that point, they had raised like 11,000 of their $60,000 goal. But again, it was all, residents or just, private citizens. I would assume it could have been
Yeah.
private organizations.
Only other thing I would caution, that was 20 years ago.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if and what rules for municipal gifting have changed since then in terms of funds received. Like, we have to acknowledge anytime somebody donates hot dog buns to the town for an event, like through a resolution. So I just want to make sure that the 20-year time gap also could, I have no idea what the regulations are around gifting and how that all works. So that's something we could certainly determine and find out if there was any interest in moving in that direction, like doing a citizen-based fundraising drive. Does that, I'm sure.
So for me, thank you, appreciate, getting the information out in front of us. And thank you.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, my computer is not cooperating. Okay, so now we've got to the discussion portion of the meeting, and then I know that clock is, yeah, so we have, I think we put this on here from 4 to 5:30, so the rest of this meeting is discussion amongst yourselves. And Michael, we have copies of the attachment that you sent out today. I will tell you that to the extent that there's input or guidance that's needed from other, like the Department of Public Works, our finance, the controller, the town attorney, no one's had an opportunity to look at those types of issues. So what I will say is I have forwarded this draft on to those folks so that if there's questions, things that need to be addressed or considered or factored in, I can report back to the committee with that information. So just to share that with you. And I don't know if, Michael, if you wanted to sort of go through, since you provided the document that everyone's looking at.
Sure. Well, I'll get the conversation started, but it was sort of a meeting and a mutual consensus building set of processes. Yeah, so we, coming out of the last meeting, we very much got the sense that we, as a committee, that at least I guess the citizens, the civilians on the committee, rather than the town employee members, that you were looking to us to really try to brainstorm and weigh out and map out possibilities So I circulated an email and got everybody to agree to meet on Tuesday, November 19th in the community by the library. And I had just initially sent out this kind of first page with a series of questions just to see where people, within a wide variety of different choices, where people's minds were, to then kind of debate through these various options. And we went back to also very much, I guess, the second or third meeting, the list of alternatives ranging from preserve, money is no expense, preserve it exactly as is in place, to demolish it and be gone with it. And so we had this kind of series of graded options also in mind. So we all prepared thoughts on these initial prompts and spent a good sort of, I guess, hour or so talking them through to see where we were all kind of pointing to the same direction. And as individuals said, what about this? We could talk through the pros and cons of some of the various options. And so ultimately, at the end of the conversation, where we had largely come to agree on something, we just sort of put those bullet points down, and that became sort of the skeleton of the draft that we circulated to you. There's a lot of additional, perhaps speculative, maybe this and perhaps that, that come out of it. But the broad consensus is the barn is historical, it is worth saving, it is a piece of Penfield's history, but it is not viable in its current location given the Torchia report and the vast expense in terms of both the compromised foundation and the rotted wooden flooring that it's currently in. So that kind of logically led to basically dismantling the barn, relocating it somewhere else, which would be avoiding an awful lot of the expenses in the Torchia estimates because they would become redundant in terms of replacing a floor or repairing these foundations. And then from there, the next logical question was, if the barn was to be moved somewhere, where could it do the most good for the most people and serve the public use that was part of the proposition that was voted overwhelmingly for by those town residents who came out to vote in 2018. We also talked about financially how to do this in a way that was mindful to the large costs being proposed in the Torchia report. And we, through discussion, saw that a public-private partnership that took perhaps a different form from the 2019 RFP might be attractive to both parties, with perhaps the town creating the pad for the relocated barn, and then a private individual essentially purchasing and investing money to re-erect the barn and do the rehabilitation work that the barn would need, and then be able to operate it in any number of retail capacities. And it struck us that the location right across the street next to a large parking lot with the enormous foot traffic and public use of Shadow Pines anyway, that this would be an attractive location that where the town residents could both see this historic structure, and it would be attractive enough to a private party retailer who would benefit from the commercial opportunities of having this really pretty wonderful location to operate business. So again, it's somewhat trying to come up with the best possible scenario for both the town and the barn to save the barn's future, while also being realistic about really what is left that can be saved and salvaged, given the neglected condition that we find the barn in now. I will defer to my mics. We are a committee of mics, and Tom. Tom also contributed. I apologize for not leaving him off the email and not having him at the meeting, but again, not on purpose. But so that's a broad sense of, through the process of debate, how we came from point to point to point to arrive at a rather specific set of recommendations. We would say that although relocating to the Shadow Pines near the Clark House on the north side of the road, Clark Road, is perhaps the most obvious. Other locations in other Penfield parks might also be a possibility. But I think the key thing is that the barn should be relocated or resituated near a parking lot where easy public access would be possible, which would then make it appealing to a private retailer to undertake and invest the cost of rehabbing the barn.
Okay, well, thank you for the synopsis. I do appreciate it. And I think there is a lot to unpack from a process, legal requirements, and so we don't have any of that information at this moment to respond to that. So I think out of the gate, we've got the 200-foot buffer that's in place from Dolomite when we purchased the property. So some of the potential location options may be limited by that, unless Dolomite was agreeable to amending their restriction to allow a project like that to advance within this current buffer area. So that's one thing that we'll have to look at and address. I think as far as, I need, in the immediate action, there's some reference to Town of Penfield staff. That's something that only the DPW director could respond to indicate whether staff is available. I can tell you, though, the town has no licensed crane operator, and so that's not an option on the table for the town. That's a whole process to get that license. So I think that we have to look at if there's other alternatives that are an option. Certainly, we'll get feedback from the DPW director.
What we talked through is a series of sort of Boolean choices. One would be if the town had the personnel and could hire the expertise to do it itself, that could realize some savings. Sure. In terms of employing your own insured personnel.
Right.
Plan B would be the town contracts with an outside firm to come in and do this work instead, probably at a higher expense than using your own personnel. So if the town doesn't happen, it doesn't mean the whole thing gets just.
No, understood. I think it's important that the town staff may not have the qualifications needed to perform some of the work, and I think I'm not sure, but I would want Bob Moore as our director, and he's in receipt of this and can have a more thoughtful response on what town employees could or could not do as it relates to anything on any town property. So that's one thing, and I think we'll also, as I mentioned at the beginning, shared the email with our town attorney as well, so they can sort of walk through pros and cons, opportunities, restraints, or constraints as it relates to the public-private partnership opportunity and what that looks like. Certainly there's occasions where that happens, like Town of Webster is currently navigating that process to try to rebuild the sandbar. They went out to RFP for a restaurateur. I'm not sure the status of the project. I think the bids came in much higher than anybody anticipated, so I think they're going back to the drawing board, is my understanding. So, but the public-private partnerships do exist, so it's something they could be looked at.
So, a comment I'd like to make is, the committee was sort of said, well, we're really starting, now we have this report down, we really would like the committee to speak. right,
Absolutely.
and provide something. And that led to these actions, and I have to thank that, Michael, for leading the Mike committee to really put this together, and we talked about it. So we understand, I think in general, that this is a big plan. There's a lot of big pieces here, a lot of unknowns, but I think we try to give a bit of a vision
Absolutely.
that we would think could be followed as a really high-level umbrella, if you will. And, the town's going to have to get involved and do all those things you're talking about. One of my questions has been, so how do we formally get this in front of the board or through staff to the board so they can take certain parts of it and say, well, this we can do, that we can't do, or this is the priority today, we got to think through the other stuff, okay? And so I know you're talking about already looking at getting the attorney involved about
Just a
private
fact
things.
find for the
But I think
committee's sake.
One thing I don't want us to lose sight of, there's an urgency that this barn needs attention now to be doing something. And that urgency, and I'll let the other Mike speak in if they want, the one urgency is, we think this barn just needs to come down. Okay, we think the board needs to consider immediate, as fast as possible, to disassemble this, to spend $200,000 to stabilize it when we think the barn's going to ultimately come down anyways. We would rather see that kind of money spent taking it down, preserving the parts that can be preserved, and then take the time to figure out the next steps. Rebuild it where it's at. More appropriately, we thought it would be better to rebuild it like on the other side by the other Clark house. Figure out, what's the best opportunity for private-public opportunity. But with all that being said, tomorrow, something needs to be done. Now, I heard about the tarp, the more tarp. That is not going to last long, all right? And we're going to be back here spending time running the fence, spending time putting more tarps on it. Other things are going to start falling down. And so I think, and I'm going to let the other board come in here, and I'm going to be strong, but we think the barn needs to come down ASAP. That's not to say don't put another tarp on it for a moment, but take it down, preserve what we have, move on from there.
Okay.
And I think that's the strongest recommendation today we can make to this group to get to the board that says, all this is nice, what are you going to do about the barn tomorrow? And this committee group would suggest, take it down.
Mike has a,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I look back at one of the meetings, and I think it was November 15th last year when there was the discussion about getting the condition assessments report and proceeding with that. But there was also, recently talk at a board meeting about how long this has taken or things like that. And I just want to say that, I think we very much needed the condition assessments report, and it's, unfortunate it took so long to do. But now it felt like, after last meeting, there was an immediacy to like, do we need to spend $200,000 on stabilization, and we need to do that right away? And so we looked at all the, talked about the various options, and think that, relocating it, probably, doing it without a basement and things, trying to keep costs in check, trying to get a way to do that with perhaps the private public partnership made sense, but that, it could also be there were, there's probably other options as well, depending upon as you look at that, like whether that could happen due to legal issues or
Sure.
other things, as you've mentioned. There was a proposal, or not a proposal, but a vision in the 2020 Shadow Pines plan, right, to have a pavilion nearby. So it could be a scaled-down thing where you erect the frame on a pad where there is not as many amenities or things for that, probably electricity, but, something where it's a space, like a pavilion almost, but it's a barn, it's open during the day or whatever. That could happen as well. But you'd have time to investigate those things without subjecting it to the barn, to the continued deterioration, the chance it might fall in with a snowstorm or whatever.
Sure.
If it were taken down. So I think that if there was some look by the board at, we think we might relocate it, and we're not sure what path that would take or what form that would take exactly, but that the next step would be to take it down. Even if it didn't get relocated, even if everything changed, I think that there's thoughts that there's value in that framing, and that
Sure.
you'd want to save that anyway. So it seemed like any of those paths, the first step would be to disassemble the barn.
Yeah,
So
so
I think that's what, and please, if I'm misspeaking or you have other opinions, please speak up.
a couple, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm always the deliverer of like the, not bad news, but the news. So any expenditure over $10,000 requires town board authorization. So careful dismantling of a barn is going to be well over $10,000. Any public works project that's over $35,000 requires a formal public bid process. So that means that if some type of a request for bids is issued, there's a period of time for people to have to respond to that. There's typically a walkthrough scheduled. It's a process that takes probably, at a minimum, from like the start of the bid to the end of the bid is usually 6 to 8 weeks, and then you have to award a contract. This is, just the public policy or public procurement requirements. So certainly happy to advance this recommendation to the town board. We have a town board member in attendance. That could be something that gets discussed at the next work session meeting, and if that's the direction, the careful dismantling. One note I will share that the timbers themselves need to be stored in such a way so that they're not subjected to weather and/or insects. Otherwise, their good condition would change rapidly when exposed to those things. So that's another factor the town has to think about, how and where those, there's a yellow barn in Pittsford that maybe is an option, but the storage is also a factor as well. And
Sure, but they're exposed where they are, for one thing. It sounds like an immediate action, though, of a new tarp is something that we should look at. And then the question is, do you proceed, because the stabilization would require the same process you're talking about
Yes.
as a demolition process.
Yeah.
So, we just,
So, not necessarily interrupt, but I think, again, where the committee is, like you said, there's a whole process the town has to go through about RFPs and all that kind of stuff. Understand that?
Yep.
Whether we do stabilization or whether you find a way of taking it down, you're going to have to go through the same process.
Yeah.
Take the same kind of time.
And stabilization, well, yes, go
It'll
ahead.
take the same kind of time?
Yep.
So we understand that, but I think what the committee is trying to communicate is the board could pick up the report that was given to us.
And they've all
and
been
decide,
received.
do they want to do the stabilization and then go on to something bigger? That's fine, that's what we've been considering. But I think we're telling them, our opinion is, forget the stabilization part and do the bring it down part.
Okay.
Now, the board somehow
Yeah.
gets those two options brought in front of them, and they have to sort of make that decision. And because you've been saying the committee needs to sort of put a stake in the ground and give you something to chew on.
Sure.
Our stake in the ground, and I don't want to keep speaking for all the mics, but our stake in the ground is, don't spend the $200,000.
On stabilization.
On stabilization.
Okay.
Do your process, get it done as fast as you can, spend those sums on bringing it down, or leave it as it is, keep running fences so you keep people out of it, put a tarp on it every 6 months, and wait till it falls down. Your choice.
Yeah, I don't, from what we heard Carmen say tonight, I don't think that we can just say, don't go through stabilization. He basically said it, said you're not going to be able to get in there and dismantle it if you can't get a tractor in there and a lift in there, and,
Fine.
you know,
Is it-
Tim
is
and
it the-
Andrew aren't
is it-
going to carry
Is
these
it the
beams
full
out.
200,000
Well, maybe, yeah,
plus?
there could be pieces of it that
And
don't
that's
have
what
to
we're,
be done.
that's what we're suggesting. Somebody needs to sort of figure that out. You know, we don't have that detail, but if there are certain basic things you have to do to keep it stable, to get it brought down, fine. Maybe that's, I don't know what it is. I don't even want to guess what it is. All right? But it doesn't seem particularly, well, it needs analysis to say, do you have to invest the full stabilization cost to stabilize it, then bring it down, or is there a step-by-step approach that's less than the $200,000?
But I guess the point that I was going to make was that you can't do any of that without going through the process.
Yes,
that-
right, right.
Which is time.
Yeah.
So there's no time allowed here. So it strikes me that the only very short solution that may not have to go to the town board for discussion is to get a quality tarp on there to stop the deterioration and then go through all this other stuff we're talking about.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that's, tomorrow they should be putting a new tarp on.
If they
Yes.
can, yeah.
If you can.
Thick millimeter.
And I guess what I'm suggesting on the bigger picture is, you know, through staff, the board has been looking for some positions to start working with. There's the report, and then our conclusions based on all that. What all the costs are to get that done, you know, they have to decide which approach they want to take, then get something done. So I guess,
I'm an advocate for taking the barn down. I'm an advocate for taking the tarp money and using it to cover the beams after you've got them piled up in the yard.
yeah.
That building's 100 years old. The beams, the heavy members have stood up very well. It probably will go through one more winter, even if you didn't put a tarp on it, without significant deterioration, and use all your money to get the building on the ground.
Can I ask Tim if there is space in the golf cart shed?
So right now, there is no indoor space available for the town of Penfield because of the DPW projects that's going on and all the other groups that are using certain closed space, cold storage, if you will. Yeah, because right now, our amphitheater's in all of our stuff from our old pole barn is at the old cart shed. And then once the DPW's built, we're going to start moving stuff out, but that's also where we keep the amphitheater in the winter months. So it is a used, and it's fairly packed right now.
Perhaps Pittsford, an empty barn that might be
Well, I
rented
will-
space?
I can certainly Matt and I could make an intermunicipal inquiry.
Our barn is separate from their dismantled
Well,
barn.
that was the other factor that,
Really?
yeah, the careful dismantling is really the key, and how, that's certainly the key, and the numbering is very important, as the folks in Pittsford will relay, is that don't take it down unless you can keep track of it. So, yeah, what we can do on our side is, certainly we can add this. We were planning to continue the discussion at the town board level. It was an agenda item on this past month's work session. We gave a quick overview of the fact that their conditions report was prepared. It was out on the website for anybody who wanted to look at it, and that the committee was going to be talking again. And the town board really wanted to wait and hear the results of sort of this meeting to know how to continue the conversation. So I know that all the town board members, they spend all their spare time watching these other meetings, so they will have watched it before their next town board meeting. And certainly, they all received a copy of, because the email group is so large and includes everyone, they would have received a copy of this today. And because of where we are on the timeline, the next work session at the town board is December 18th. That gives staff a little bit of time to try to do some legwork to see if we can get some costs or pricing around the various things that have been talked about tonight. And, it's been like a team effort of planning, engineering, myself, DPW, working together to try to get information as it's being requested by the committee. So we'll continue that to get some information ready for the town board as far as like pricing and process. Gives the town attorney a little bit of time to make sure those ducks are in a row, and then we can go from there. So that conversation will be continued at the town board level.
And
If I'm
we did
hearing-
take a preliminary look at maybe where the barn could go on the north side of the parking lot there. Of course, that takes a good look and engineering look and all like at it, but there may be space on the north end.
Okay.
To be near the parking lot there, so we included some information about that thought or
Okay.
concept.
In fact, if you have the live link in the report, Mike made a pretty useful visualization video. Oh, you just asked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's about 6 minutes.
Right
Oh,
there.
there it is.
It's about 6 minutes long.
We can, this will be out on, well, do you want this document to be loaded to the project website as committee work product?
Yeah, I mean, as far as where this video is right now, it would probably move from that to, the town have a copy so that you can host it. I don't want to host it forever, but,
Oh, do you
yeah.
want to, if you provide the video
Yeah.
link or
Well,
somewhere that,
the link is there, but I
Well,
can give
we
you the
c-
video and you can host it then.
yeah, then we can upload it as its own work product provided by the committee. Is all that sound fair? I'm looking for nods. I feel like this is one of those times where I want to make sure I don't have anybody falling asleep at me on a late afternoon.
If we have the time, we could watch it if you don't mind. I mean, you've already
Sure.
put the link on there.
We have the
so-
time.
But that, as I say, it won't reside there forever. I'll give you the town the copy, so.
Okay.
So this was so we met on Tuesday last week, and this was on Wednesday when I went out to do this. So it was kind of just showing what the property looks like today, where the barn could maybe go. So again, this is just an idea. It's not, there's no plans for this, but needing to be 200 feet from the roads, from both Whalen Road and Clark Road. And then there is an existing disc golf course there now. So, again, there's options, or depending on how much you want to change, various options for where you could put it. Trying to leave room for fairway 1 from the blue tee out. The left edge of that purple is kind of the right edge of that fairway. So this is what the site looks now, looks like at this point. So we can see the barn there, and you can of course see the roof condition and all, but how the property sits. And I'll note that the barn is currently less than 200 feet, I believe, from Clark Road. So there was thoughts that if that were taken down, it couldn't even be erected in the same place without some permission being granted.
Yeah,
for it.
we would want to not take it down. If we wanted to put it back in that same spot, we would not want to take it down until we had verified that approval or permission if we're able to obtain it. So yes, I would concur with that for sure.
So one thought is the sort of north end of the parking lot. So you see the parking lot, we're coming around to the north edge of it. Maybe that there's space there that, there's space there that if it were put there, if it could be put there, whatever, it wouldn't disrupt the other uses that are currently in place for the site.
Yeah, there is a slight modification proposed for the parking configuration
Okay.
as
Yeah,
part of the
that's
Clark House, yeah. So I'm working with we'll get a updated site plan out on the website for
Okay.
everybody to have access to, and I'll put it on the Google Drive as well.
Great.
First of all, I love these videos, but I'm going to warn anyone who's watching from home, if you are motion sickness prone,
Oh, right
you may
about
want to
now,
close your
yeah.
eyes for a
Close your
moment,
eyes for a
because
second, yeah.
this, if anybody's like afraid of heights or susceptible to, but this is very, always helpful visualization. It gives people a sense of where everything is. So I appreciate your work on that, Mike. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I'd seen the changes to the Clark House and the lodge that's planned, but there was nothing shared that I could find that was north of the entrance, the driveway there to Whalen Road, so it wasn't clear what the plans were.
Yep, we'll fix that.
So then we'll see kind of moving the barn or whatever, which is, of course, mock, just, it's easy to do digitally, you just drag it across the screen. And of course, now as the barn sits, it is the walkout from the lower level on the left side there, on the east side. So
Yep.
our thoughts were if the barn were moved, perhaps it would be on a pad and there would be no basement.
If only it was this easy,
Yeah, exactly.
Mike. This would be, if only we'd just pick it up and let it fly over to a new spot.
It's kind of neat here to see the relative
It is pretty-
scale of everything and stuff like that. But on the right side of the building, there's all, on here, the west side, there's a lot of stuff. There's the golf course that's there currently, or the disc golf course. So somewhere in this area. And then next, we'll kind of get a visualization of what it would look like if it were there. So again, this is just, at this point, just totally a concept. I don't know if there's things that would preclude it from going there.
Yeah, but
But we can't be directly to the west side of the Clark House without a waiver, because that would be within 200 feet of Whalen Road. I'm sorry, of Clark Road.
yeah.
And so this is shown here just without,
Sure.
without the basement, right?
But it gives you a sense of scale and how it, yeah,
Yeah,
of,
so you can see the T just past the corner of the parking lot there up, that's the blue tees currently, so if you didn't want to change that, I think, it could just barely sort of fit in there, and at the right edge of that fairway, which is going basically to the left of the screen from that tree, green tree there, there might be enough room for the barn in there. So there will be a lot of changes, right? That pad in the corner of Whalen and Clark is going to disappear, I think, as part of the plans to change to add.
yes, that pad is definitely not going to be replaced.
Take out one of the road, I think, out to
Yep.
Clark Road and things. So there will
And
be a lot of
the
changes.
parking lot itself is going to be, is being pulled back closer to the building and less in the, so I'm happy, again, I'll share the site plan with everyone.
And then there is like just a 2D version of this too that I'll give you with a video
Okay.
that just, because it's more updated stuff that you can, if there's thoughts just around where else the barn might go, if that's
Sure.
useful, that's available for you. Anyway, and here I rotated the barn around because you'd want doors, and of course you'd want walkways and all kinds of other stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Just a preliminary idea.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing this and preparing it. It's helpful sometimes, especially when we're, looking at plans or looking at aerials, it can be hard to understand sort of where we're talking. Like, people start using northeast, southeast. Sometimes you're my head, I'm like trying to
Yeah.
spin around. I still point to the wrong parking lot from
There
this
was
room.
some newer Google imagery that showed the construction of the pickleball area.
Oh, okay.
But it was kind of really poor quality down in this corner. So
Sure.
that's why I wanted to get out and do
Yeah.
this.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. So again, next steps would be, we'll bring this conversation back to the town board with the discussion that's happened here tonight. We'll get some information uploaded on the website to reflect this, and Mike, I might just connect you directly with Dave Renner to get the files, if you don't mind.
That's great, yeah.
I appreciate that. And then we'll be gathering up some information for the town board's benefit so that as they're contemplating thoughts and ideas, that they have some parameters of numbers if we, to the best of our ability. Often, it's just preliminary, a cost estimate, just so we know what procurement path we have to follow, whether it's a bid process or it's a 3-quote process. So we hope to even just answer those questions as well.
Is there a process for getting emergency funding?
I don't know, you mean for,
Well, if there's going to be, if we think we need to do something before the snow flies, or as
I
soon as
think
possible, then it's not going to happen.
right, the tarp, yeah, so I mean, if we think that the tarp is needed to ensure that the structure and the timber frame is maintained, that's something the town board can contemplate as well. I'll have that information for them. I don't know if, again, under $10,000, if it just requires the supervisor to sign off on a project. However, this has been so in public discussion, we probably will just be something we talk about at the next town board meeting. So I'm hoping to have that 3rd quote in hand by then. For whatever reason, maybe it's the mild weather we're having right now, but a lot of contractors are super busy and not able to get quotes to people in a quick turnaround because they're busy scrambling to finish up projects. But
But yeah, to echo Tom's point, it does seem from the Torchia report, time is of the essence. As long as that hole is open, deterioration is increasing, and so it's in good shape now, but it's really inherent on us to arrest further damage.
okay, all right. Any other comments? I'm looking around the room. Does anybody have thoughts or comments they want to share before we officially adjourn the meeting?
I would just add very quickly, just to make sure that everybody's expectations of how any of these processes could move forward is, as Kerry kind of mentioned already as well, that there's a lot of contractors who are really busy, especially this time of year, trying to get work done. So I would just say to temper your expectations, even if the town board could move this forward very quickly and have, be ready to say yes to deconstruction of the barn. I mean, you're probably not looking at someone being able to do that until after this winter is the reality. Even if you found someone to come on quicker to do it, not that that would be a bad thing, but I guess as the preservation consultant to this committee, I would just highly, highly caution you from just saying, yep, we'd want that contractor because they can do it now. It really, really, really should be a contractor who has experience with historic buildings. I can't say that enough.
Yeah. I think in particular for this, not even above historic buildings, is a barn structure. It's different than.
Right, a whole different process to be able to the way that you number and take down the structure for it to be able to go back up at all. It is a very specific contractor for that. So yeah, I think Tom was kind of getting to that earlier, and Kerry said too, with the contractors themselves, the deconstruction may not happen until spring at the earliest, when realistically someone could come in to do it.
Yeah, you said there was no photos of the Pittsford one when it came down, but at least there is some good photos, thanks to Dave Renner getting inside and.
Of our barn, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'd also say, to echo Michael's point, that taking it apart seems to be the most economic, most logical step going forward, buys time, it stops further damage, buys time for really a concerned rebuilding of it. But I think also we had a strong consensus that the barn in its future life needs to be used, needs to not just simply be in some of these alternatives, sort of
Yeah,
like the Pittsford barn, it's preserved and it's sort of mothballed, and that doesn't do anyone good. This is a part of Penfield's heritage. Penfield residents should connect with their past, be inside, use this space, use it, visit it frequently. The location, we point out, it is equidistant between Penfield High School and Scribner and Bay Trail. It is also out of, at least the Shadow Pines is a wonderful location where a lot of town residents are coming there anyway. And so if the town invests in this, it should consider the improved quality of life, the educational elements of this, and the importance of thinking that we borrow our heritage buildings from our children, and we need to be good custodians and pass those on to the future generations. And so really, a lot of our considerations have, I guess, the entire town in mind, not just simply this is a physical asset that we need to figure out some solution to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that step or that process of identifying uses would be something that Megan mentioned at the last meeting. That would be something that the town would have to undertake the consulting services for a feasibility study that could analyze that in a meaningful way. That requires expertise in terms of how does that get built? What does it need to have to, serve certain different functions? And it's its own project to pursue that consideration. But we will share all that information with the town board, so they have all the information they need to determine path forward.
But they're not going to know, no one can tell them what it's going to cost to dismantle it.
I'm going to try to do my best to get some ballpark numbers if I can, potentially. I can't make promises. I can't make people answer me back, but we at least have the one barn expert that we consulted with at the very beginning of the process. I might reach out to him to see what his thoughts are, and I know that I'm 99% sure he's done dismantling, so we can find out what that generally has costed and find out if that's something work he is able to potentially in the future bid on. If not, and then if not, we look elsewhere. We have other demolition companies that do work, and I'm going to probably reach out to our consulting. The town has an architecture firm on retainer, essentially, to respond to. So I might check with them to see who they know. So this becomes where you phone a friend and you ask a friend to phone another friend to find folks who are able to do municipal work. And that's the other thing that's, whether we like it or not every contractor that knows how to do this wants to do it for a town entity, because it's a different level and a different set of operational considerations for them. They've got to track they've got to do certified payroll. It's a whole different ballgame from just contracting with individual private property owners. So, but we will do our best to get some estimates. And I say we because it's going to be we. I'm not assigning it to anybody here, but I need some help. So, anything else before we depart? And I can't look up at the clock because I always tell the time wrong. So I will call the meeting adjourned at 5:34. And thank you all.